The day Earth received its first alien transmission was, disappointingly, a Tuesday. Not a dramatic Friday before a long weekend, or even a mysterious Monday to kick off conspiracy theories. Just a regular Tuesday in October when SETI's radio telescopes picked up a signal that definitely wasn't coming from Jersey. Captain Jack Novak was enjoying his coffee in the Joint Chiefs waiting room when a frantic aide burst through the door. "Sir, you're needed in the Situation Room." "No, now." Jack sighed. "Can I bring my coffee?" "Sir, there are 16 alien warships that just appeared in orbit." Jack stared at his coffee longingly. "I'm guessing that's a no on the coffee." 6 hours later, Jack found himself appointed as humanity's representative for the simple reason that he was, as the president put it, expendable enough to risk but smart enough not to start an interstellar war. Jack considered this the worst promotion of his career. The aliens chose the United Nations Plaza for their grand entrance, materializing in a shower of purple light that left a scorch mark shaped suspiciously like a middle finger on the pristine lawn. Their leader, a 7-foot-tall being with skin like polished obsidian and more decorative metals than actual clothing, stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Vox Therax of the glorious and eternal Galactic Empire, spanning 12 quadrants and 7,000 years of uninterrupted dominance." The alien's voice boomed through a translator device that made him sound like he was speaking through a drive-through intercom. "We have come to offer Earth the unprecedented honor of submission and incorporation into our magnificent society." Jack cleared his throat. "Hi, Captain Jack Novak. Earth. We were kind of in the middle of something called civilization here, so maybe we could reschedule?" Vox Therax's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Perhaps you misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. We have 16 planetary decimator-class warships aimed at your major population centers." Jack glanced at the alien entourage, noting their rigid postures and comically serious expressions. "And we have TikTok. I'm not sure who should be more afraid." The gathered human dignitaries didn't gasp in horror as expected. Instead, someone in the back snorted. Then someone else chuckled. Within moments, the entire human delegation was struggling to maintain composure. Vox Therax's translator squawked in confusion. "You respond to the threat of annihilation with acoustic expressions of amusement?" "Sorry," Jack said, not looking sorry at all. "It's just you traveled across the galaxy to threaten us, and you wore a cape with sequins." The Empire had revealed its might, and humanity answered with laughter that echoed through the stars. It was, as they would later discover, the worst possible response they could have given. The next morning, the Empire established a temporary embassy in what had previously been a Walmart supercenter in New Jersey. Jack arrived to find Dr. Eleanor L. Martinez already analyzing footage of the aliens. "They've got 17 different ways to kill us with that fancy wrist tech, but they still pick their noses when they think no one's watching," she observed, pointing to surveillance footage of an Imperial guard discreetly exploring his nostril cavity. "Fascinating." Elle was Earth's leading xenobiologist, which was previously a theoretical position until yesterday. Now she was the most important scientist on the planet, a fact she celebrated by wearing her lucky lab coat with ET. Phone home embroidered on the pocket. "The ambassador wants to present their terms," Jack said. "Apparently we're getting the generous package usually reserved for Class C civilizations with cultural potential." "Should I be flattered or insulted?" Elle asked. "Save that decision for after the presentation." Vox Therax's generous terms turned out to be a 12,000-page document delivered on tablets made of a material that hummed ominously and occasionally shocked anyone who read too slowly. "The Eternal Empire requires merely 97% of your planetary resources, 78% of your habitable land, and voluntary sterilization of 60% of your population," the ambassador announced proudly. "In exchange, you receive our protection and cultural enlightenment." "That's generous, all right," Jack muttered. "Like offering to only cut off 9 fingers instead of 10. Additionally, Voxtherax continued, ignoring Jack's comment, all humans must learn to recite the Imperial Anthem, which takes approximately 14 of your Earth years to memorize properly. El squinted at page 5438. Does this say we need to change our atmospheric composition to include more methane to accommodate Imperial visitors? A minor adjustment, Voxtherax confirmed. Only a 30% increase. So we'd all be constantly farting or dead, Jack translated. Sounds lovely. The meeting dragged on for hours as Voxtherax detailed increasingly absurd demands, including renaming all pets to Imperial-approved designations consisting of numbers and clicks, and replacing all human music with the harmonically superior sounds of Imperial traditional instruments which resembled bagpipes being strangled. During a brief recess, Jack pulled Elle aside. Notice anything strange about these guys? Elle nodded. Besides everything? Yes. They have absolutely no sense of humor. Every time someone laughs, their skin changes color slightly, almost like they're allergic to it. Jack's eyes widened. They also seem completely thrown whenever we don't respond with appropriate terror. You thinking what I'm thinking? Elle asked. Operation Punchline? Jack suggested. I was going to say strategic comedy initiative, but yours is better. They reconvened with the aliens, who had spent their break meticulously rearranging their medals. We'll need time to consider your offer, Jack announced. You have 24 hours, Voxtherax declared. Then we require your complete submission, or we will demonstrate our technological superiority in ways your primitive minds cannot comprehend. Jack smiled. Looking forward to it. Quick question, do you guys have Netflix where you come from? There's this show called The Office I think you'd hate. Lieutenant Commander Finn Glitch Peterson was not what most people pictured when thinking of a military communications specialist. With 5 different streaming subscriptions and an encyclopedic knowledge of internet culture dating back to dancing babies, he was the person you called when you needed to speak fluent meme. Let me get this straight, Glitch said, adjusting his glasses as he sat across from Jack and Elle in the hastily established Earth Defense HQ, formerly the food court of the Walmart turned embassy. You want me to weaponize dad jokes against an alien invasion? Not just dad jokes, Elle clarified. All human humor. They seem fundamentally unable to process it. It's like their brains short-circuit when faced with human absurdity, Jack added. And nobody does absurdity better than humans on the internet. Glitch grinned. I've been preparing for this my entire life. Operation Punchline began small. During the next formal communication with the Empire, Jack responded exclusively in idioms. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, he told Voxtherax when asked about resource allocation. The alien ambassador's translator sputtered. What bridge? Our scans detect no bridge construction. Is this a secret military installation? No, it's just how we roll, Jack replied with a straight face. You rotate. Is this a defensive maneuver? By the 3rd day, the Imperial Translator AI was showing signs of distress, but occasionally emitting smoke when Jack told Voxtherax that Earth was playing it by ear and putting all our eggs in one basket while letting the cat out of the bag. Meanwhile, Glitch had assembled a team to flood the Imperial communication channels with content carefully selected to confuse alien algorithms. They started with puns, which the alien translation systems rendered as nonsensical threats. When Jack told a knock-knock joke, 3 Imperial guards drew weapons. Our algorithm detects aggressive territorial challenging behavior, one guard explained nervously. The Empire's demonstration of military might was scheduled for sunset on the 5th day. They promised to vaporize an uninhabited island as a show of merciful warning. Instead, when they fired their primary weapons, every screen on their ships began playing Never Gonna Give You Up at maximum volume. Did you just rickroll an alien armada? Elle asked Glitch incredulously. The hardest part was finding their equivalent of YouTube, Glitch admitted. Turns out they have one, but it's all videos of proper imperial posture and metal polishing tutorials. Voxtherax was livid. His obsidian skin had taken on a distinctly purple hue. This sabotage is an act of war. You will cease these incomprehensible attacks or face annihilation. We'll take that under consideration, Jack replied. But first, have you heard the one about the alien who walked into a bar? Admiral Zara Okonkwo had commanded Earth's Cyber Defense Initiative for 15 years. She'd prevented 3 world wars through strategic information management. Now, she found herself coordinating what her staff had dubbed the Great Meme War of 2025. Status report, she demanded, striding through the underground command center. We've deployed Phase 2, Ma-Am, Glitch reported. All Imperial communication systems are now receiving our cultural package. On the main screen, they watched as Imperial ships began behaving erratically. Some appeared to be flying in circles. Others had gone completely dark, rebooting their systems repeatedly. What exactly did you send them? Jack asked. A carefully curated collection of cat videos, TikTok dances, and every "this is fine dog" meme variant ever created, Glitch explained. Their visual processing systems are trying to determine if these are coded military communications. Elle studied the biological readings they'd managed to collect from their alien visitors. Their stress hormones or whatever passes for them are off the charts. They literally can't handle the cognitive dissonance of our humor. Admiral Okonkwo nodded approvingly. And the secondary initiative? Ready to deploy, Glitch confirmed. We've identified a harmonic frequency in human laughter that causes minor disruptions in their technology. Something about the sound waves interferes with their quantum processing. On the diplomatic front, things were escalating. The Empire, frustrated by humanity's lack of proper terror, had called in their feared enforcer Commander Drell, whose reputation for crushing resistance was legendary across 3 galaxies. Commander Drell arrived in a ship that looked like someone had attached unnecessary spikes to a star destroyer and then spray-painted it metallic black. His entrance at the embassy was preceded by ominous music that seemed to follow him from hidden speakers. I am Commander Drell, he announced, his voice deeper and more menacing than Voxtherax's. I have pacified 67 worlds. I have no sense of mercy. I have no concept of why are you smiling. Jack couldn't help it. Sorry, but did you rehearse that entrance? Because it feels rehearsed. Drell's 4 eyes narrowed simultaneously. Silence. Your pathetic planet will learn the price of disrespect. Quick question, Elle interjected, raising her hand like a polite schoolchild. Is that cape standard issue? Or did you special order it with the flame pattern? The flame of dominance is a sacred symbol of stop laughing. But it was too late. The human delegation had dissolved into helpless giggles. And as they laughed, the lights in the embassy flickered. Drell's translator began to emit a high-pitched whine. The ceremonial metals on his chest vibrated noticeably. Interesting, Elle whispered to Jack. Very interesting. The Empire was facing an unprecedented crisis. Their ships reported system malfunctions that coincided precisely with broadcasts of human entertainment. Lower-ranked aliens were beginning to exhibit concerning behaviors, including unauthorized smiling and experimental attempts at humor. Commander Drell had established his command center adjacent to the embassy, where he was currently berating Voxtherax. You allowed this situation to deteriorate beyond acceptable parameters. Drell roared. The Supreme Emperor himself has taken notice of your failure. These humans are unlike any species we've encountered, Voxtherax protested. They respond to threats with inappropriate acoustic emissions. They deliberately misinterpret clear instructions. Yesterday, when I demanded their surrender, their representative asked if I wanted fries with that. Inexcusable. We must demonstrate absolute power immediately. Known to the imperial leaders, Their conversation was being monitored by Earth's defense team. Jack L. Glitch and Admiral Okonkwo gathered around the surveillance feed. Their chain of command is fracturing, Admiral Okonkwo observed. And notice how the lower-ranked officials are starting to mimic human expressions. L nodded excitedly. Cultural contamination. The rigid hierarchy depends on absolute seriousness. Once they start finding things funny, the whole system falls apart. Time for the big guns, Jack decided. Glitch, is the package ready? Glitch grinned. Locked and loaded. We've compiled the greatest comedy moments in human history, calibrated to the exact frequency that disrupts their tech. Everything from classic Monty Python to Dave Chappelle to that video of the guy who couldn't stop laughing while reporting on a swimming pig. And our inside source? Admiral Okonkwo asked. Ready to flip the switch. Their inside source was an Imperial maintenance technician named Krill, who had become secretly fascinated by human humor after accidentally downloading a collection of dad jokes into his neural implant. Krill had been covertly sharing human memes among the lower ranks, creating the first Imperial comedy underground. When Drell announced his plan to demonstrate Imperial power by vaporizing the Sahara Desert, chosen because it was mostly empty anyway, Earth was ready. Begin the countdown, Drell commanded, standing dramatically on the bridge of his flagship. When the humans witness our power, they will. He was interrupted by his communication officer. Sir, incoming transmission from Earth. They say it's a cultural gift before their surrender? Drell smiled viciously. Put it on screen. Let us witness their final pathetic gesture. The screen lit up with a compilation video titled Try Not to Laugh, Galactic Edition. What followed was a perfectly calibrated assault on Imperial dignity, cats knocking things off tables, people falling in spectacularly harmless ways, and puns so terrible they transcended language barriers. Across the Imperial fleet, alien officers stared in confusion. Then, somewhere, someone snickered. The sound spread like a virus. A junior officer giggled. Then a section commander snorted. Soon, against all Imperial protocol, aliens were laughing. The effect was immediate and catastrophic for Imperial systems. Ships lost power. Weapons systems went offline. Drell's own translator began reciting poetry instead of translating his increasingly panicked orders. What is happening? He demanded as his bridge crew struggled to contain their growing amusement at a video of a human attempting to ice skate for the first time. Vox Therax, who had begun to develop a grudging appreciation for human resilience, had the answer. They've weaponized joy against us. Earth's final defensive move was both desperate and brilliant. They broadcast what they called the ultimate comedy special. A carefully constructed performance combining stand-up comedy, physical humor, and contagious laughter, all calibrated to the exact frequency that disrupted Imperial technology. Every Imperial ship in orbit experienced cascading system failures. Their fearsome weapons powered down. Their shields flickered and died. And through it all, the sound of human laughter echoed through their communication systems. In the Imperial flagship, Commander Drell watched in horror as his mighty armada was rendered impotent by what the humans called comedy. Worse, his own crew was infected. His discipline was breaking down as officers openly chuckled at their predicament. "This is impossible," he whispered as his command console displayed cat videos instead of tactical information. Vox Therax approached cautiously. "Commander, I believe we should consider a strategic withdrawal." "Retreat?" "Retreat." Before these primitive Drell stopped mid-sentence as his translator mistakenly converted his threat into a knock-knock joke, causing two nearby officers to collapse in unprofessional giggles. On Earth, Jack and his team watched as the Imperial fleet began to withdraw from orbit. Admiral Okonkwo received an incoming transmission request from Vox Therax himself. "This is unprecedented," the ambassador admitted, his formerly imperious tone now tempered with something like respect. No species has ever defeated an Imperial fleet without firing a shot. We didn't defeat you, Jack corrected. We just helped you find your sense of humor. The Empire wishes to propose new terms for cooperation, Voxtherax said carefully. It seems your species possesses cultural attributes that are valuable. The new treaty established Earth as an equal partner in galactic affairs, with humans appointed as cultural exchange specialists throughout the Empire. The rigid imperial hierarchy was gradually reformed, with laughter no longer classified as a form of treason. 6 months later, Jack found himself sharing a drink with Voxtherax in what had once been the Walmart Garden Center, now a thriving interspecies diplomatic lounge. I still don't understand how you knew our weakness, the ambassador admitted. Jack shrugged. Anyone who takes themselves that seriously is vulnerable to people who don't. That's not just human psychology, that's universal. Voxtherax attempted what had once been forbidden in Imperial society, a joke. What do you call a human and an Imperial sharing a beverage? I don't know, Jack replied. What? The beginning of a beautiful friendship or a diplomatic incident waiting to happen. It wasn't particularly funny, but Jack laughed anyway. And somewhere in orbit, Imperial systems registered the sound of human laughter no longer as a threat, but as the most powerful force in the galaxy, the ability to find joy in an absurd universe. Humanity had laughed in the face of annihilation, and in doing so, changed the stars themselves.